A lot of you have been leaving interesting comments at the bottom of my video. Apparently, Kombat Pack 3 is cancelled. Mortal Kombat 11 is doomed. It's dead. There shall be no more DLC. We're not getting any more skins, not any based on the movie especially. Nothing more is coming to Mortal Kombat 11. It's over. That's a wrap. And you may think I'm exaggerating, but honestly, only by a little bit. And I wondered, where did this information come from? Why is it all doom and gloom? Why is the apocalypse happening? And as it turns out, Uncaged made a video. I recommend checking it out. He's a very fun and interesting fellow. But for anyone who's not caught up on the news, I wanted to inform you here. So essentially, AT&T has made a big sale, some of which may be certain games, including Mortal Kombat. And as a result, there was some speculation that that is why we are not going to get a Kombat Pack 3 and why it's been so long since NetherRealm has said anything about their own game. But let's not jump to any conclusions. Let's go ahead and have a look over here in this tab. Okay, so check it out right here. So AT&T's $43 billion deal. Imagine having that kind of money. With Discovery sees the telecom giant unload its content divisions, including HBO Max's Warner Media, to create a new standalone company. I wonder what that's going to be. But what's going to happen with the video game division, Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment? That's a lot of syllables. Say that 5 times really quickly. So as you can see, that right there is what has a lot of people freaked out. They thought that's why the game's been dead for so long. Well, we haven't heard anything from NetherRealm. They were going through this sale. Their company was being sold off and they weren't allowed to work on anything. Now, here's the thing. I seriously doubt that's the case because according to the CEO himself, he did not even know about this until the day before it happened or something crazy like that. So once again, I doubt this whole situation was the reason why we're not getting a Kombat Pack 3 and the reason why Mortal Kombat 11 hasn't had many updates. Unfortunately, I do think that NetherRealm just might not have any more plans for Mortal Kombat 11 at this point. Either that or they're so far behind schedule that they don't want to announce anything. Don't misunderstand me. As always, I don't want to give up hope completely, but I feel like already there's less than a 1 in 5 shot that we're even getting a Kombat Pack 3. It would certainly be nice because don't get me wrong, I think the roster on MK11 is shaping up to be something really special and unique, and I would love for just a few more 3D era characters to make it onto the roster. But that's just life, you know, you don't always get what you want, and I think this might be one of those situations where they weren't even really working on a Kombat Pack 3, maybe only a couple of more balance changes. And if I'm gonna be extra real with you, and I mean as real as I can possibly be, I wouldn't be surprised if there's no more balance changes either. Unless some crazy exploit gets discovered in the game that makes the character super unbalanced in an unbelievable way, then they might step in and make a hotfix right away, but I don't see any more updates happening soon either. And you know what? I could be wrong, and in fact, I'd be especially happy and ecstatic if I was wrong. I would love a Kombat Pack 3, and I want Shao Kahn to get a few more buffs. I also wouldn't mind seeing Cetrion nerfed a little bit too. I feel like she's still a bit too strong. Maybe Liu Kang and Joker also, still a bit annoying in my honest opinion. But let's go ahead and change topics real quick. What about that Marvel fighting game that NetherRealm was working on? Well, actually, I shouldn't call it a fighting game just yet. All we know is it's a Marvel game, and even that part, take it with a grain of salt because it was technically a leak. And while the person who leaked it does have a pretty good track record of being correct in the past, I still don't want to get you too excited just yet because all we know right now is that maybe NetherRealm is working on a Marvel video game. But since it is NetherRealm we're talking about, I think it's most likely a fighting game. Keep in mind though, Ed Boon has said in the past that he wants to make a game that's not a fighting game. That's one of his future goals. So this game could honestly be anything. Some speculate it could be a Marvel versus DC fighting game. Let me know in the comments, which would you prefer? You already know my opinion. I want a Marvel only roster because we already have Injustice Gods Among Us. That's a full DC roster. I want a full Marvel roster because I don't want to share. I do love the DC characters, but Marvel deserves their shot now. Every Marvel fighting game, they've been sharing the roster with somebody, and I want it to just be their fighting game. But anyway, I digress. The main reason I even brought up that at all is because I do think that what AT&T is doing right now with selling the different divisions, including their gaming divisions, I think that could actually affect the future games that NetherRealm might be working on. And unfortunately, we have no real way of knowing until they tell us something because they didn't even tell us which branches of the games division they're even selling. So essentially, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say to you is that Kombat Pack 3 was either never going to happen or it's still going to happen, and that won't change. I don't think this deal with AT&T and Discovery is going to affect anything that NetherRealm was already in the middle of working on, but future things that they haven't quite started yet or aren't very far into, I could see that actually being canceled and they change to something else. That is certainly a possibility. I don't think it would be a very good idea financially because because NetherRealm in the past has always done bangers. No matter how you feel about their games, balance-wise or whatever, they always sell really well. It's a good cash money machine. So once again, hopefully this Marvel game or Marvel fighting game is completely safe, and I want a full Marvel roster because we already have the Injustice game. And speaking of Injustice, that is the perfect segue because Injustice Gods Among Us is getting an animated film, if you can believe that. Don't get me wrong, the Injustice games have a very good story. I think it's the best thing that NetherRealm's ever done in terms of their writing. It's a really fun story mode in both of the games. But even so, I never expected to get something this literal based on a video game, because when you see a Mortal Kombat movie, it's inspired by the games, but it's not like directly taken from the games. Unfortunately, it'd be pretty dope if it was. But I think with the Injustice Gods Among Us movie, it's gonna be pretty accurate to the games, and I think that's a good idea because I'm pretty sure they actually had writers from DC work on that. So I think if you got some great writers, just go ahead and adapt the games as faithfully as you can, and I think you'll be good. I mean, if you've played any of the games, then you know how good that story mode is. Injustice 2 especially, my god, the camera work, it already felt like a movie. So I guess it makes sense that the higher ups would want to make a full budget movie about it. If it's already that well done and the script is that good, why not just adapt it and make even more money? I honestly think it's a really cool idea. The only downside is we're gonna see evil Superman again, and we've seen evil Superman so many times. Even in that new Suicide Squad game, we have evil Superman. I'm getting a bit tired of evil Superman. Oh god, you also have him in the Snyderverse too, right? In the future, he's evil. Oh my god, so much evil Superman. I'm sorry, I'm just a huge Superman fan, and he keeps getting done dirty. He's such a cool guy and such a good character, and he was already misunderstood in the sense that everybody thought he was this bland, do-goody Boy Scout. He's just a regular chill dude. He's actually very easy to relate to, but everyone's like, no, he makes no sense. Batman more relatable. Oh my god.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
So already that's a big misunderstanding, and then for a long time after, he's been like evil in so many different stories, and I'm getting a bit tired of it. But once again, I digress. Keep in mind, this might not actually be based on the games. This could be based on the comics. There's actually quite a lot for both Injustice and Injustice 2. And these comics, by the way, are a fantastic read. I don't think I finished Injustice 2 series, actually. I was right at the Starro part, and it was really cool. In fact, if I'm being completely honest with you, the comic books have a story that is just as good as the games. It's not interactive like the games, but it's still a really good and compelling story. And it actually makes you feel bad for Superman, believe it or not. I know he's very easy to hate in the games, but in the comics, you shockingly understand a lot of the decisions that he makes. And you even start to dislike Batman a little bit. Even though he's in the right, some of the choices he makes to get there you don't think are very justified. It's really good. It paints this cool gray area in the comics. So I wouldn't be surprised if the studio actually adapts the comics instead of the game. But let's say for fun they do actually adapt the games. Do you think they're gonna do both games in a single movie? Or are they gonna go for the first movie and see if it does well and then make the sequel? And then if that does well, are we gonna get a third movie and find out which of the Injustice 2 endings is actually canon? Most likely not, but you know, it's fun to dream, right? It's fun to think about what could be in the future. But either way, it's really cool to have a DC animated film based on the Injustice games and or comics. That's sick. And also keep in mind, it could be an entirely new story, like a spin-off story that we didn't know about but is still canon. Unfortunately, as I record this video, there's no other news about this announcement other than the fact that they're just making an Injustice Gods Among Us movie, and that's it. So once again, in the comments, let me know your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen with this film? And are you excited about this movie, or would you rather see something else? I'm also excited, by the way, for the Batman Long Halloween. I think that's really cool as well. I loved the comic and I want to see it adapted, so I'm excited for all of these things. For anyone who's not aware, the DC animated films always slap. They're always really good. They've been knocking it out of the park. When it comes to live action movies, they're not doing super well. They're kind of getting their butts handed to them by Marvel, at least up until recently. I think Phase 4 is going to do not quite as well, so maybe DC can start to catch up and do better in the live action department. But when it comes to the animated films, they've been spanking it. They've been doing really good. There's so many great DC animated films, so do yourself a favor and watch a lot of them, because then when you're finally done catching up with all of those amazing movies, maybe the Injustice Gods Among Us will have a trailer and you can watch that too. At any rate, thanks for listening, everyone. That's all the news that I have for you today, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below. It really does help my channel out a ton. That new algorithm on YouTube is very tricky, so leaving a like always helps me out a lot. And you know what also does? Posting a comment, but I've already told you several times to do that, so maybe you already have. But if you haven't subscribed already, what are you doing? Smash the subscribe button and ring that bell as well so you don't miss any future videos. This channel has grown to over 300,000 subscribers strong, and we are the best fighting game community on YouTube. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.